Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Sherwood, and I'm here with my company, Local Shore Shrimp. Now, from the name alone, you can tell that we're working with shrimp, but you might have some questions such as, why shrimp? Why in Iowa? And in complete honesty, I found it totally by accident. One day I was just scrolling through Instagram, as you do. It was a couple years ago, it's still popular, of course. And I noticed a post that said, oh, this indoor shrimp farming, it's amazing. I'm making 1,000% margin on it. It's so easy. I set it up in a day. Like, that sounded amazing to me. So I got really interested and I started doing my own research. And as I dug into it more, it was really viable. It was really profitable, definitely not 1,000% margin or anything like that, but it looked really, really good to me. However, I also found that there's many issues with the shrimp market and the fish market at large that I thought that I might be able to work on as I got bigger and built a company. Pictured here is actually one of those issues. This is a commercial shrimp farm in Asia, and the way that they build these is they will go and find a mangrove swamp or other brackish ecosystems, clear cut it, bulldoze it, divide it up into these little squares that you see here to make it very easy to run nets along and unintensively grow these shrimp with as minimal loss as possible. And obviously when they go in and make these, they're destroying this ecosystem that is extremely critical for a variety of ocean fish for reproduction and shelter. Fishing here is another issue. Now, this one has gotten better in recent years. This is just commercial fishing. Many of the ways that they do this involve dragging huge nets behind them, and they will pick up more fish than they're intending, endangered fish even, because there's just no way to tell what they're picking up, and it's really devastating fish populations in the Gulf and around the world. Another issue with this is that another way that they're dragging these nets is just straight along the bottom just to maximize their catch, and it's destroying reefs and other critical ecosystems and shelters that are down there for fish. So now that I found two problems that I thought I could work on, I took a deeper dive. I looked into the market data, and what I found was that the global fish market is absolutely massive. It's $600 billion a year, with the US market of $100 billion. So that's a huge established market that has existed pretty much since humans have existed. Fishing has always been a thing that humans have been involved in. So my thought was, how am I going to find a way that I'm going to break into this market? And what I did to try to look for this is I went and looked at other markets of similar size. And one of the first ones I looked at was the EU. So that's all of Europe, basically. And they have a market size of $118 billion, so pretty similar. And I found that 10% of that market is actually organically grown aquaculture. And when you go and look at the US, 0% of our market is organically grown aquaculture. Now, that's actually because the USDA does not have any guidelines for certifying organic. So that's a niche that I thought that I could kind of attack and get into. So I found a niche that I really like, and I found problems that I want to work on. So then I looked a little bit deeper and I looked at the market outlook for fishing in general, and it's going to almost double from the 500, almost 600 billion to 1,000 to 12 or 1.2 trillion by the end of the decade. As you can't see here, sorry, there's a point at the end there. So at this point, I went off and I started doing customer discovery. I had initially started doing surveys with over 1,000 individuals and also some interviews. And much more recently, I've worked with 24 restaurants here in the Iowa City area. And initially, we had thought, oh, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grow tons and tons of shrimp. We're going to push quantity. We're not necessarily for quality, but we're going to try to get as much out of there as possible. And that's just due to my background. I thought quantity was better than anything else. However, we started talking to Hy-Vee. We started talking to other places similar to that, and they were asking for amounts that were just simply unrealistic for being a small operation with no funding, starting off just bootstrapping. So on recommendation from some of my mentors and just from the customer discovery, we pivoted a little bit. We took these interviews that we did with chefs and restaurant owners, and we found that, hey, they're really, really, really excited about getting this organic fresh shrimp option here in the landlocked state of Iowa. And basically we found that chefs were the most interested. So we shifted from that quantity, we're servicing everybody, every individual possible, to mid to high-end restaurants. So now that we had our customer discovery, we figured out what we want to do, we've got our product down. We're doing organically grown, locally sourced shrimps, never frozen and delivered straight to the business's door. And we're actually pulling our organic process straight from the European Union certification standards, and we're using the USDA EU's equivalency to bring that over here. So we're getting certified over across the sea and bringing it over here, making us one of the only organic shrimp farms and fish farms really in the United States. And additionally to that, we built some tech working with a few professionals in the industry that will increase our yield anywhere from 10 to 20% below competition. And just to help us work with restaurants specifically, we're doing small batches that come up every 1 to 2 weeks, just so they can have a consistent offering of our products. So our future, initially, in the next few months, we're working on getting a patent for that technology that I just briefly mentioned, obviously because we're not patent pending yet, I don't want to talk about it. But that's going to be our first step. Our next step is launching, and we're hoping to do that by the end of next year. We had planned to launch this September, however, we had a few difficulties with that. And we're working towards expansion. We want to try to service these cities directly after Iowa City. And then our stretch goal for that is kind of like Chicago is like the big idea with all of their Michelin star restaurants and things like that. And thank you all for your time and any questions.
So what process involves when you say it's organic? Is it the food or
So
it's different from normal foods?
yeah, it is partially the food. The idea for organic is that it's going to be basically grown in the same way that it would be had it lived wild. So we're trying to use organic food with the same contents, the same vitamins and stuff, and very little chemicals, like no like chlorine to treat the water. So it's tasting much more like fresh seawater than a pool, essentially like some of our competitors would taste. And additionally, we're the way that we're doing, we can minimize diseases and things like that, so we don't have to use any kind of like medication or anything.
So you're actually bringing some seawater here in Iowa?
No, we're actually making it ourselves. It's honestly, it's the same way that you would make like a saltwater fish tank. So you're just either, you could technically buy the seawater, but it's prohibitively expensive. So what you do is you just mix the water, the salts, and I think it's a few other trace minerals that the shrimp actually live from.
We have a question from our Zoom. Ashley, you can go ahead. I think you're still muted.
Unmute. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't have access to unmute real quick. Jared, I just wanted to say you did a great job presenting, and I wanted to know what was your favorite part of this process so far?
The process of like building the shrimp business, or just making the speech and everything like that.
She gave a thumbs up, so I think that was yes.
Honestly, I just really like to do research. So finding an industry that I like and I'm interested in, and then finding problems that I think I can solve was really interesting to me. I think that was probably the highlight of it.
Could you talk a little bit more about your competition? Because I know you kind of prefaced this by saying that it's like very easy and almost anyone can do it. So I guess what's stopping, like for example, like me going and setting up a shrimp farm?
Yeah, and I honestly had left that to kind of figure out a way to like make it vibe with the rest of it. But it honestly, there isn't anything stopping them. I have made great efforts to differentiate myself from other competition because like there is a shrimp farm. I think it's called Story, Iowa, so not even that far away. And they're not using an organic process, but they are growing shrimp here in Iowa City. And they found great success, but they're harvested only once every few months. They are charging quite a lot more than I would charge or I'm going to charge. And against things like the imported frozen shrimp from like the Asian fish farms that I just showed you, and Gulf shrimp, it's just tasting better. It doesn't have as many chemicals and pollutants in it. And that's basically it on that.
What was the strategic thinking that went into like choosing my cities?
Honestly, I just looked for the biggest cities. I looked for the amount of restaurants because we are targeting restaurants, and then basically just picked like the top 5 for this presentation. Obviously, we'd like to service all of Iowa, but I know that being a small business, we have to kind of pick and choose what we got to do first.
Can you talk more about you have a team, like who's around you, and then have you successfully grown shrimp and eat them?
So as for the team, it's me and then my mentors like David MK. I have worked with Leslie Flynn, Keith, we'll say Keith C, because I can't say his last name. And then Jay, of course, is my mentor this semester. So that's basically my team, but the business itself is just me. And then what was the second part of your question?
Have you grown shrimp either?
So that was actually part of the issues we had. We had them growing, they were going to be launching in September, and then we actually had to kind of gut everything due to a little bit of contamination.
Yeah.
So we have not eaten them yet, but they were growing, the process was.
And then what's the margins like for like you making money? Like what does it cost? And then like what is your?
So just from that initial attempt we tried, it was looking like it was going to cost about $3.50 a pound for me with no employees and I'm not taking pay. And we were selling them for between $14 and $15, $14 and $16. So it's a huge margin. Not that 1,000%, but still quite large. And obviously as I get employees, as I get a better location, it's going to go down, but it's still quite profitable, I believe.
And you said this is completely indoors?
Yes, so there's two different ways we can do this. For me, I wanted to try it indoors first, so I had gone to a garage, essentially renovated it, and the tanks are stacked on each other with flowing water so that everything is very, very clean. And the other way you can do this is like with a greenhouse type setup where you have like one of those hoop shaped things and just run it outside. So indoors, or like, I guess that would be technically outdoors, but you can pretty much grow them in any environment that's safe.
How long does it take the shrimp to, I guess, grow up and be ready to market?
Yeah, so it really depends on the size of them. The small ones take 2 months, the larger ones take 4, sometimes even 5. On that slide there was actually 2 separate species of shrimp. The tiger shrimps take a little bit longer, but they have like they're larger in average and they taste a little bit like older, I guess it would be. And the other ones are white Pacific shrimp. They grow faster, but they're a little bit sweeter. And we're going to be growing those. So 2 months for smalls, 3.5 for mediums, and 4 if 5 if you want like large to jumbo.
Can you talk with any people or found any organizations that are involved with organic produce supplying?
Yes, actually. I'm actually meeting with the founder of Nebulum. They grow, I think, like leafy vegetables for restaurants around here organically. I'm meeting with him later this week, I think. And then I've also reached out to some places outside of Iowa because I don't want to be like to my competition, hey, can I steal your ideas essentially? And yeah, we've talked to them a little bit and they have shared what they do for the organic process and I've been able to maybe not improve, but tweak what I got from the European Union a little bit.
I know you're not completely scaled up yet, but do you have any estimates on like how many like pounds per week you could produce in like your garage setting once you have it fully running like tanks?
Yeah, so every square meter, but like half a meter tall tank will produce right around 70 pounds once every 2 months or so, and you can stack those up to the ceiling. I think I was able to get 4 or 5 in a stack. So I don't have the math on me, but it's pretty good. Just for that one garage, I think it was like less than 1,000 square feet. We're going to be able to supply like Big Grove. Oh, I didn't say this, but we're going to try to work with Big Grove initially and Orchard Creek and St. Burgess Tavern. I'm fairly certain we're projected to be able to deliver them at least once a week, sometimes every 2 times a week if everything goes well.
Yeah, so kind of to touch on what you just talked about. So it sounds like it's pretty high density. I know in aquaculture, like parasites and like diseases are a big thing. So how are you like safeguarding against that while still like maintaining organic status?
So we're using all of the industry standard stuff. Basically, we're using biofloc filters, water changes as needed. But most of it is honestly taken care of by keeping the water flowing through the filtration system and the proprietary tech that we're using. And I don't want to get into that too much, but it is basically keeping the water cleaner. I'll call it part of the filter. We'll say it's part of the filtration system.
Okay.
What do you estimate like the orders from the small companies or restaurants that you're looking at? What do you think bi-weekly or bi-monthly, what their orders look like?
You know, honestly, that's going to be the most difficult part because they don't even know exactly because it just varies so much by season. They told me that obviously summer was going to be the hottest time they'd want the most, but it really just depends on how the first trial run goes. If it becomes very popular, like a Big Grove, for example, like the shrimp cocktails are going to be huge, then they'd want like 100 pounds a week. But if it's not very popular, they might get 10 or 20. Whereas somewhere like St. Bridget Tavern where they serve all the seafood, they want more. So it just really depends. We have to do that first trial run to get an exact number.
Any other questions? Have you thought about going direct to consumers anyway, testing or?
Yeah, so that is something I am thinking about and I wanted to do initially, but I'm just trying to take on as small responsibility as I can at first because this is a very small setup. If anything goes wrong, I have to tell the restaurant, hey, we can't deliver your shrimp today, but here's your money back. But if I do that with 100 consumers that each want a pound, it's going to be like I just lost 100 customers. So I feel like it's just safer and easier for me to work with restaurants first and then branch out to the customer or individuals once I've kind of proven that it's everything's working reliably. So,
Yeah, I was thinking like a locally grown shrimp at a farmer's market.
honestly, that exactly is my thought almost precisely. I was thinking even like overgrowing a little bit for the restaurants and testing it at a farmer's market.
Yeah.
But just because I don't have any concrete plans on that, I didn't want to say yes to that just yet.
We also have like I think it's Fabian shrimp truck that comes occasionally to like the Dairy Queen. And
Yeah.
it's not like super advanced notice or anything and people like storm that place,
Yeah, and I
seriously.
think-
So I feel like you could even do like kind of pop-ups. I don't know how that would work and people would support it.
Yeah, because I was going to overproduce a little bit and I thought maybe I could sell that like that. But
Mhm.
I think the Fabian trucks are the Gulf shrimp that they're bringing up.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen their prices exactly, but I know it's quite expensive. for those.
But people buy them.
Yeah,
Like those
exactly.
lines are super long. So I feel like if it was local especially, people would be interested.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll ask our final question. What could we as community do to help you?
In all honesty, connect with me on LinkedIn. I definitely need more networking. And if anyone knows restaurant owners or chefs, I'd love to talk to them. If you could send me over their contact info. But thank you all for supporting me, being here today. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much.